I met a like amazing girl when I came back from Canada at that time, and it was like that was the first sexual relationship I had, and it was incredibly powerful for me. But I really went into it the wrong mind frame, and we both loved each other, but it was incredibly negative and toxic for both us and for everybody around. But at that same time, for me, it allowed me to really find that true dark demon that was inside of myself that I always brushed off as my biological father, because I lived with my stepdad. I haven't seen my biological dad for a while because of the way that he would treat my family, especially the females in our family. So I always knew that there was this part of me, but instead of acknowledging that it was me, I would say that it was my dad and that it was his fault and that it's just who I am and I can't change this. Which would then result in when we would have fights, it would turn physical, and it's completely contradictory to what I'm all about. Like, other than time, I've never got physical with anybody, which is just, it's a horrible feeling to get put into that situation in both sides. Like, I made her feel like complete shit, and at the same time made myself feel like a complete terrible human being. And it really, I didn't acknowledge that for 3 years, and we continued in this relationship for 3 years of just shitty stuff, but trying to work through it together. But you can't work through these issues in a relationship. You have to, those really deep rooted issues, you have to solve them through yourself, because it's not something you can just, if you come to that equation, especially when you come into a relationship young, you can't resolve those problems, because you're just going to continue to manifest the issue. Well, you could resolve them if you were both in the correct mind frame to actually acknowledge the problems that are going on there, and you both acknowledge them instead of pointing them out to each other and being like, you're doing this wrong, blah, 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 and then nobody actually listens to you, because nobody likes to be told that they're fucking up, essentially. And if they are doing that, then you need to portray a way that you can teach them or show them through how you interact that this is how to do it. And when a fight arises, you retain your voice and you can keep at a steady level instead of allowing yourself to go down that tunnel of getting angry and anger and anger, and then eventually you're an animalistic enraged state, and your higher state is there behind you telling you what the hell you're doing, but you can't stop yourself. It's a truly horrible thing for both the male and the female, and it's a direct representation of the male trying to hurt the female side of the brain. Like, even not in physical context, but in emotional context, I would always break time down and not appreciate the artsy side of my soul, and in turn I would break her artsy side down because the females always want to be art and they want to do crafty stuff and like have fun with things and make things beautiful. And all I want to do is just be a stoner, and I was depressed in my chronic pain and not like dealing with it. Instead, I was just letting it become this thing that was controlling my life and turning me into the person that I never wanted to be, the person that I'd brushed off and said, it's a part of me, but I'm not going to look at it. But through doing that, that's exactly how it came out into this reality. And it was a really negative thing for everybody that was around me to be a part of that. And I'm definitely not sorry that I went through this state, because being sorry for these things is just continues that cycle. But I'm truly grateful for the people that were around in this situation that allowed me to actually progress to the point where I am, and truly the time who actually had the power to break up with me and break my fucking heart, because I needed it more than anything did I ever need that. Because I couldn't do it. I was too attached and caught in sex and that addiction that comes along with that. And so through this, which just broke my heart, and I learned another lesson, and you do not ever text stupid things. Because I ended up having to deal with the police for a month, because I had seen it, because we'd broken up in silly context, but completely respectable and completely understandable. The way I handled it was completely inappropriate, but again, was a part of my learning experience. We all do these inappropriate things that society deems as not acceptable, and you just need to accept that and then learn through that. So through that month, this was the worst months of my life. it got addicted to smoking the legal cannabis, because in New Zealand weed's $50 for 2 grams. So I was in chronic pain. I had a legitimate reason to be taking the medicine that I choose. But because of this, then I just ended up being addicted to it because it's so expensive, and it takes away the medicinal value of it and turns it into a drug. And this then turned me on to smoking the legal highs because I could get it for cheap. And this essentially is smoking meth, and this was just completely detrimental for my mental state. And this is something that New Zealand is legally pushing, and they're actually trying to regiment it instead of allowing weed to just be the medicine that it is. It's a weed. Come on. And so through this month, I was living in the basement. I really isolated myself off. I was in constant. There was the lowest vibration I'd ever been in. I really I had to hit bottom. I felt like killing myself then. I really didn't want any part of the world. I didn't see any future for myself. Other than the faint glimpse of Canada in the back of my mind, like, come on, just go to Canada. So then after a month of waiting for court and all this stuff, then I ended up in Canada with no plan, no idea where I was going, no idea what I was doing. Spent a week in Canada, and then ran into one of my soul brothers, Anton, who synchronistically came into Vancouver a week after I arrived and brought me to Kiramios. He's been picking here for the past 6 years, and he's really my guiding light whenever I stray from my path. Anton just shows up and he's like, come on, do this way. We're really powerful for each other, and we acknowledge that power for each other. So that's how I ended up in Kiramios, essentially. And through that, then Kiramios sent me off down, making no money, spending the $6,000 or so that I came over here with from my exuberant style of life, not caring about money, blowing that all in like 2 months. I did buy a van, but for $3,500, still, it's a lot of money to just go and spend. I could live off that for a year now, which is like, duh. So then through that, we ended up having no money in a vehicle, but we had a van full of hippies, and it was me and 7 other people, my buddy Anton and my close buddy James. For the most part, we were sort of the core crew. And we got petrol through just busking at petrol stations, and it worked remarkably well. And just around the time we completely ran out of money and cherries were just making us nothing, this was when Bass Coast was starting, which is an electronic music festival for anyone who doesn't know what that is. And the universe just pulled me there, and this is really where I came to the awakening of myself, and that I can heal the pain that I'm going through. I just need to acknowledge that it is possible to break up this pain, and I deserve it. I deserve it more than anything. I don't deserve to cripple myself and put myself through the pain of beating myself up over what I did at the time, or beating myself up over anything, being out of money at the time, because this was the first time in my life I'd ever had no money, and I'm in a foreign country, and it's like I don't have busking skills yet, and I don't really know anything to do. And again, blessings to the people who have manifested themselves into my life and helped me guide me along that path. So through Bass Coast, this really taught me that I'm meant to be doing massage. My whole life I've been trying to heal my body, and I've been going through all types of massage, all types of therapy, all doctors, all that hoo-ha, saying not doing anything for my general well-being, except spending money and keeping me in that pain and keeping me in that mindset of when you're 30 or you're old, you're gonna be in a wheelchair because you've crippled your body, you've done all those stupid things when you're young. I could never ever believe that anymore. I never would, because my body is now in a state where it feels younger than when I was 10. But instead of being in a 10-year-old body, I'm now in a 22-year-old's body, and it's feeling young and I can feel energized. Instead of being in chronic pain where I couldn't flow and speak like I'm speaking now, because I'd be so caught up in thinking about pain instead of relinquishing the control of the voice to actually allow our vocal cords to actually do what they're meant to do. We don't have to think about what we're saying. Everything can just flow out of us because we are a divine channel for that. all it takes is the acknowledgement of that and the acknowledgement of the self, which is a truly hard thing to do, because for me that acknowledgement of self came from losing all my money, and well, not losing it all, but blowing it all, or blowing it all on useless things, and then going to festivals and really realizing that, well, first off realizing that what I'm meant to be doing is healing myself, and through that healing other people, which in turn is the greatest healing to yourself when you put in that time to help another person. And so basically it's kind of like filling out the steppers, and yeah, my first massage actually to Antoine, my soul brothers, and this was a very introspective moment as well, where it was really like, obviously this is what I'm meant to be doing. And then through this, then we ended up going to Shambhala, and the synchronicity